All right, everybody, welcome to today's Seven Figures Club podcast episode. We have an amazing guest today. We have Jack BOSCH, managing partner of Orbit Investments, LLC. Now, Jack has an amazing story, but he has vast experience in real estate, having negotiated, bought, sold, and rehab, as well as owned and managed over 3,800 properties. That's an enormous amount of property. I know we've got some listeners here that are starting to build a small real estate empire, and maybe several listeners on here who have not yet started, but you're looking for a place to start and you're looking for a mentor and an education program. And later on, Jack's going to tell us about how you can obtain that type of help. But most importantly, he actually holds a large portfolio of properties in land, in single family homes, in commercial and large multifamily properties. So he has a very wide experience of different properties. So he'll be able to give you guys insights into single families, into land, into multifamily. And not only that, he also, completed an MBA degree, and he built the third largest land auction company. And guys, I don't know if you've heard, but they aren't making any more land anymore. So the sooner you can get involved with land deals, the better off you're going to be. He's also a successful seven-figure real estate education company founder. He's taught many investors how to make their first investment dollars and build their empire in real estate. And he's also a best-selling author. Jack, welcome to the show.
There are over 32 million businesses in the U.S., and over 90% of them will never break seven figures in annual sales. So how do we as entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs break into that seven figures club? This podcast will relentlessly share the secrets, strategies, and tactics I've used to create 3 multi-seven figures businesses and bring in even more successful entrepreneurs than me to share their inspirational stories and tactics to success. You can create your dream business and life right now. So buckle up and let's go.
Well, thank you very much. I was like, I didn't even know I did all these things so far. I mean, of course I do, but that sounds like a lot. But thank you very much for this wonderful introduction. It sounds much more as what we've probably done. We try to be we're just normal people that tries to tackle one project after the other.
Amen. Well, Jack, starting at the very beginning, what is your background like in your history? And when you grow up, did you know that you were going to become an entrepreneur? What was Jack like growing up as a kid?
Oh boy, did I know that? Absolutely not. Jack grew up as a kid in Germany, first of all, as you had mentioned. Growing up in Germany in a small town, 10,000 people, right next to one of Europe's third or fourth largest lake, called Lake of Constance in English, on the border to Switzerland, like literally an hour and a half away from France, 45 minutes away from Austria, 4 hours by car from Italy. So it's this beautiful rolling hills, green wine country, lakes area. We basically went to school, spent the summer at the lake, horsed around. But with anything, I would probably say I was mediocre in school. I was not bad, but mediocre. I didn't apply myself very much. I had lots of fun. I was also a bookworm. I read a lot. Still to this day, I love reading. And so after graduation, I went to German military service, which was obligatory. I played music. I played the clarinet all my life. I played in a marching band for a year, did my obligatory year of basically playing the clarinet, then went out, went to college, went to university. And then somewhere in the plan of my life was like, the typical get a good education, get a good job. And in my case, since I went to business school, like to get a business degree, I wanted to work at like a consulting company or something like that, and be able to travel throughout Europe, work at the fancy companies, and have an expense account and all this kind of things. Well, life turned out to be quite different. I never had any intention of being an entrepreneur. Nobody in my family is an entrepreneur. I got one distant uncle, or I think it's my brother's godfather, so it's not so distant, who is an entrepreneur, but he works in manufacturing, so it's really kind of dirty and lots of stuff lying around. And I was never was attracted to any of that. I didn't understand it. I didn't want to do anything in that direction. So no, I always wanted to go that career path of work hard, but make good money, go up the career ladder. And And I was not afraid of hard work, let's put it that way. But no, entrepreneur, never. Yeah, so I came to the United States by coincidence, kind of, because I wanted, in order to get to that, have my resume look perfect for these consulting companies, I figured an American MBA would help. So I had an exchange program with a college I went to in Germany that would allow me to get credit in Germany for the last few classes I needed to take, would allow me to get an American MBA and improve my English. So it's like three birds in one hand, like at once. I'll do that, right? So I put my student furniture into my parents' basement, said, see you in a year. Well, 24 years later, I'm still here. Right? I'm still here. I'm an American citizen now. I'm married, have a beautiful 13 and very smart 13-year-old daughter. My wife and I co-owned our business, co-run our business. She's the CEO. I'm the COO. She drives a lot of parts of the business. I drive other parts of the businesses. And together we have now actually flipped over 4,000 pieces of land, own 700 apartment units, own commercial property, and have built up and teach all over the country and all over the world how to do our real estate investing, particularly the land flipping that we do.
Wow, what an amazing story, Jack. So you came here to the U.S. to knock out those three birds, get that education, learn English and all those things, and you were planning on going back. What was it that initially led to you staying here?
Well, it's that love, right? So 3 weeks in, I met this wonderful young lady who is an immigrant herself from Honduras, Central America. Her name is Michelle. And she took me like a long time to chase her. Like it took me like to pursue her like 6-7 months before she finally like gave in and went on a date and so on. And then when we're like 10 months into it, we're like, well, what are we going to do? She was graduating. I was graduating. We're going to fall in love. It's like, well, when you go to college in the US for a year, you got a 1-year work permit. So it's like, we got a 1-year work permit. We might as well try this thing out, right? An extra year work experience is not going to harm me. Worst case scenario in my mind is like, if it doesn't work out, I get an extra year of work experience here. I'm even more desirable over in Germany by the workforce over there. So let's try it out. And well, it worked out. That job gave us a green card. Like two years later, we got married. 3 years after that, we got the green card. So we did both get a job in a consulting company, but a software consulting company, which is not my cup of tea. So I felt like imposter syndrome all through the 5 years. Like I had to pretend. Well, I felt like I was pretending I knew what I was talking about because I didn't go into school for software. I went to school for business, right? And but it did what it needed to do. We worked 80 hours a week, worked through weekends, day and night. She got a job in finance, year-end, month-end financing and accounting and finance. So we often work days and night, weekends, whatever it took. But it got us the green card. It got us the permanent residency. And it also made us realize that having a job is not all what it's promised to be. It's like 2 or 3 years into this grueling rut of 100% travel, getting up at 5 a.m. on Monday, going down to the airport, taking a 7 o'clock flight, flying in 1 or 2 hours, being at 10 o'clock in the office or 9 o'clock in the office, working till 10 p.m., repeating that every single day while staying in a hotel then until Friday night, coming back home, being dead tired, doing that week after week after week after week with 2 weeks vacation and not even really good pay, and do this for 2 or 3 years, we were wiped out. And we realized, and then I was working with colleagues who had been doing this for 15 or 20 years, who had teenage kids that would not even know their parents, not know their dad. Their dad would come home Friday night completely destroyed. Saturday would go with the kids to a soccer game or something like that, or a baseball game. Sunday they would go have a family dinner, perhaps play, and then on Monday he would jump on a plane and do it again. I was like, this is not going to be my life. Right? I made it it was very clear. So really what drove us, but that's a blessing in disguise, because that pain and that stress and that being worn out and so on led us to realize that the job is really it's like the wrong path. So we looked at it and we're like, this is not going to be our future. What else do we do? It woke up the entrepreneurial spirit in us, because it says like, if this is how it is to have a job, I don't want to have any part of that beyond what I need to do in order right now to get the green card. So we started part-time trying to figure things out. It took us a couple of years. We figured out land flipping. And then when the green card hit, we were just within a few months after the green card hit, we were able to quit. We were able to go full-time. And now we take an average of 3 months a year off and travel around the world. Even during COVID, we were able to go to Bora Bora. We were able to go to California, to Utah skiing. We went all around the country responsibly, right? But still, like in Bora Bora was pretty safe. They were the only guests there, so there's no risk for COVID. If there's like 10 other guests in a resort that usually we're usually 300 fit in and so on. So we still continue to travel. We still have time. We spend time with our daughter now, and we created the life of our dream now.
Unbelievable. So you're working those 80-hour weeks, both you and your wife, you're exhausted, you never see each other, you're on planes going across the country, and you're thinking there's got to be more, there's got to be a better life. And so how do you get in to real estate? How do you go from being, a software consultant that you don't love, but that's what you're doing, right? You've got this MBA in business, but what information or education did you have about real estate, and what was your first deal that you got into?
So we had absolutely zero education about real estate. Again, my dad's a high school teacher. They bought their house at some point of time in the late 1970s when I was like about 9 years old. They lived in that house until about 5 years ago when they sold it and bought a condo instead, that with an elevator and so on. And because it was a 2-story home that they didn't want to go up and down anymore, and they and so there's no education from that side. Nobody again in my family is in there. However, my wife's family, her dad passed away when she and I was 9 months old. Right?
Wow.
She had no experience in that either. But her dad, who was an attorney in Honduras, had just, I don't know if he knew what's going to happen or not, or that he was ill or so on, but just a couple of years before he passed, he actually sold some assets that he had, and he bought one piece of cash flow real estate, a commercial piece of real estate. And when he passed away, that was inherited to my wife. It was kept in a trust, and that piece of real estate ended up paying for her private school education. Ended up paying for her being able to go to an American college. Now, it wasn't like a big piece of real estate, didn't bring in tons of money, but enough that in a country like Honduras, where on $1,500 you can live really, really well, it was able to put enough money aside that when she was 18, she was able to afford college over there. And that was a sign, because when we talked about what should we do, she was like talking about that. She's like, well, I don't know anything about it, but I know that this piece of real estate got me through school, got me through college. And now that my mom is retired, supplements her mom's salary, which as a single earner, former, her mom was a retired elementary school teacher in Honduras. You get a pension of like $400 a month. You can't, even in Honduras, you can't live on that. But thanks to that commercial piece of real estate, her mom now has a dignified retirement. Nothing crazy, but a dignified retirement. So we had an example in the life of my wife of how real estate had helped her in her life. So we knew that real estate was powerful. So one night, well, we looked at all kinds of things. We thought about opening a bakery, but we were traveling. We couldn't. Plus, I'm not a morning person, right? So I don't want to bake, or I don't want to get up at 2 a.m. We looked at all kinds of different business opportunities. And one night we saw an infomercial. I don't remember who it was from or what, but we saw an infomercial television about real estate, and we're like, started talking about real estate, and she's like, yeah, that's what did it for me. And it's like, okay, well, let's look into that deeper. And that was the beginning, but the beginning of a bunch of failures. Because again, we got the house under contract and a triplex, and it needed a lot of repairs, but we didn't have any experience, any knowledge. We didn't know how much does it cost to upgrade wiring, how much does it cost to upgrade electric wiring. I mean, to replace the roof, to upgrade a kitchen, to fix a foundation repair. and this house needed, this triplex needed all of it. So we did everything wrong. Luckily, we're able to back out of the deal because we put it under contract, put it on the market. We got a bunch of people interested. Nobody wanted to buy it, and everyone told us this is a horrible deal. This deal, and then so we backed out, and then we looked around at different options, and ultimately we came across owners that hadn't paid their property taxes, like tax liens and tax deeds and things like that. And we're like, well, that's interesting. Why wouldn't they pay their property taxes? That's like a concept that's inconceivable to Europeans that they don't do that, and because the processes are very different. And then we're like, well, what if we go contact them? So we contacted them with a letter, and everyone that responded back owned land. It was like, what do we do now? It was like, we're like, well, let's be careful because we don't know anything about land. So let's take this $8,000 property and offer them $400, right? Let's see what he does. And they accepted it. So we went up to the property, put a sign in front of the property, and the neighbor comes over and says, like, what are you doing? It's like, well, we're selling this property. He's like, well, man, I always wanted to buy it. He's like, well, how much do you offer? And he said, like $4,000 right there on the spot. And we didn't even negotiate. We just accepted it. And while this is only a $3,600 profit, it's 10 times the money we invested in the deal. Right? It's a 900 or 1,000% return. We're like, that makes sense. And that was easy. We didn't have to estimate any repairs. We didn't have to get any contractors. Heck, we didn't even have to see the property. We could have just sent somebody up there, put a sign on the property. And then we did 2 weeks later, we did another deal and we made $10,000. And then we did another deal and another deal and another deal. And soon enough, we're like, stop looking at these properties. We did it. We started doing this all virtual. And now for over like, I think 15 years, we haven't seen a single property anymore that we have put under contract, that we bought and that we sold.
Wow, that's unbelievable, Jack. So you started out, you go in person, and that first big deal is a land deal. And so you started working in the tax lien situation. For a lot of the listeners that don't know, like, yeah, there's people that legitimately don't pay their property taxes, and those properties can go up to auction, and the highest bidder can take them. And then there's different things where they can get them back and whatnot. But what was cool is you just made an offer, got that taken care of, took over the property, and then the same day or a day later, now the guy next door is like, I've always wanted to buy that land. And then you had an amazing cash on cash profit where $400 becomes $4,000 in like a day. That's a pretty good return on investment there, Jack. So then you started to do more land deals, or did you start to branch out into different properties? What was that process like?
Well, no, for the next 6 years, we literally put our head down, put the blinders on, and it's like, why even deal with the complication of houses? Why even having to deal with tenants, toilets, termites, right? With repairs, with inspectors, with mortgages, with financing, with the roof repairs, with foundation repairs, with mold, with termites already mentioned that, with electric repairs, with people who don't want to move out, with squatters, with you name it. Why even have to deal with all of that if we can make the exact same profits with just focusing on land, with a simple process that's has only 5-6 steps, and so we just focus on that. We started hiring our first person. So the first year we did 63 deals alone, Michelle and I, while still having a job until October. So the second day, and that's that same job where we worked our butts off, right? Michelle actually quit hers first, right? And then a few months later, I quit mine once we had the green card. And then we just 3 or 4 months later, we hired our first assistant to help us with some of the things. And then we did 150 deals next year, and we did, and literally within 18 months went from $0 to $1 million. And then at that point, we're like, why even? We still didn't know anything about houses. We still didn't know how to repair kitchen, how to estimate the repair of that, how much it could, where to even get kitchen cabinets, where to, other than Home Depot, but we knew nothing about houses. It was like, forget that. We don't need to learn anything about houses. We can just do this. When you get a piece of land for 10 cents on the dollar, you don't need to know much about real estate. You can literally, if you mark that thing up to 40-50% of market value, basically half price, you still make 4 to 5 times your money on the deal, and you don't have to ever learn anything about what doors cost and what the cost of lumber is and things like that. Right now, the cost of timber and lumber is going up to the roof, apparently. I don't care. On my land, I don't care because I don't have to deal with lumber, right? We're just, and so what we've developed is we've developed a method where we can find and identify the people that absolutely do not want their properties anymore. Not those who are motivated sellers. A motivated seller is somebody who gives you the property for 60, 70% of market value. What we're looking for and what we optimized and what we perfected is how to find what we call the non-wanters. Now, a non-wanter is like has a garage sale mentality. They sell a $1,000 bike for $100 because they want their garage to be empty. That's the same thing. It might be somebody who has a family trust and asks the kids, hey kids, do you want this property here? It's like, Dad, no, you bought this 30 years ago. We don't want this. It was like, okay, I got an offer here from somebody. It's not a high offer, but if you don't want it, I don't want to go through that. Let's just sell it. Or somebody that has inherited the property who just doesn't care about it. Now, our properties are not tax delinquent usually, tax delinquent. That's how we started. But now 95% are not tax delinquent. They don't have a mortgage on them. They're free and clear properties that just the owners no longer want. So we figured out how to find them. We specialize on 3 kinds of properties, right? And then that have a build that where we know there's lots and lots of millions of buyers already waiting in the wings to buy those properties. And then we turn around and we have a very simple process for selling them through social media, through websites that anyone can access. Most of them are even free. And that's a process that allows you and anyone else, us and everyone else, to actually sell these properties comfortable, virtual, from home, from the comfort of your home, really from anywhere in the world. Like we have students right now in Germany that are doing a deal that's going to make them $20,000 this week while they're in Germany, and they cannot even come to the US yet due to COVID.
Oh, so they're in Germany and it's a US deal that they're doing.
Yes. All the deals we do are US deals, very simply for the reason that the US has the most lax privacy rules in the world. Like all the information about all this property information is public record. So who owns the property? Where is the property? Where's the property? Well, how big is the property? Who owns the property? Where does the person that owns the property live? Their mailing address. What did they pay for the property? When did they buy the property? Aerial pictures. Everything is 100% at your fingertips for free, available in 99% of the entire United States. As a result, you don't, like, that is not the case in Canada, Mexico, or God forbid, Germany, where there's like extreme privacy laws. So if you want to do this in Germany, it's almost impossible to get a hold of the owner of that property. I mean, you can't drop a piece of mail on the land, right? If it would be a house, you can drop a piece of mail in their mailbox. But on a piece of land, what are you going to do? Drop a letter or a postcard on the grass? It doesn't work, right? The next wind and the next rain takes it away. But in the US, all the information about who owns the property, where they live, is public information. Plus, the US is so big that we have lots of people that live on one side of the US, but own land on the other side of the US. And they're never going to go there. Right? They're never going to go there. They owned it 30 years ago, 40 years ago, they bought it. They inherited it from their parents. They live in I don't know, they live in San Francisco or they live in LA, living La Vida Loca. The property is in I don't know, in Kansas or in Texas or in I don't know, in North Carolina. And they don't have an interest in going there. They don't care. Plus property taxes, if you hold properties, pieces of land, when you hold on to them, actually come with property taxes. So they're like inherited something now. It's about a third of our deals are inheritance deals. They now bought these properties, or they got this property from their parents, and they're like, all of a sudden they get a tax bill. They're like, I don't want to pay. Heirs don't want land. Heirs want money, right? They want cash. So they're like, I got this thing inherited. Now I have to pay for it? I don't want to do that. Well, guess what? We send them a friendly letter. They get that letter. It's like, oh yeah, you offering me money? Yeah, here, sure, whatever. And they're literally giving us these properties for anywhere between 5 and 35 cents on the dollar. So we're getting these properties at huge discounts, which allows us to then turn around, not even marking up to market value, but sell them at 50, 60, 70 cents on the dollar and still make tremendous profits in the middle.
Wow, Jack. Well, you just blew my mind. We're gonna be reaching out to you here at the end of this podcast.
Sure. I mean,
So,
the other day I did a podcast with a gentleman that is in the insurance business, and he's like, "That sounds so amazing. I need to do that." So he put one of his team members, have him engage with us, bring him in, and bought our coaching. And that was like 3 months ago, and they have already 8 deals under contract that now they're marketing, and I think 2 are selling in the next week, and getting them pretty much a full ROI in the first 3 to 4 months of being in our program. It's pretty crazy, because that's the last thing I actually want to say. The best part of a land flipping, you asked, why didn't we do any houses? Because there's so much competition in the housing world. There's nobody in the land space. We have been screaming it from the rooftops for the last 12 years, and there's still no competition in the land space. Because think about it. How many house flippers do you know?
tons. I've had a lot on the podcast. We know a lot of house flippers.
Right. How many land flippers do you know?
I think you might be the first.
There we go. Right. And wherever you go to a local real estate investor association, there's 200 people. You're going to be the only land flipper in that room. And that's about the ratio of competition. That means, but there's more land out there than there's houses. So you can cherry pick what you want. You often the only game in town. And so why would we abandon something? Now we have added.
So the next strategy, though, the next question I have, Jack, is, okay, I'm listening to this. This sounds unbelievable, but how am I going to get the money to actually pay for the land?
Right. So that's the other thing. And what I also wanted to say to your question before is, like, now since then we have added houses, we have added apartment complex, we have added things. But what we do now is we use our land flipping as our cash machine. We produce the cash over here and the cash flow, and then we roll it over and buy improved properties with it, but for buy and hold and for cash flow, for generational wealth and cash flow. Because flipping is an active income generating strategy, right? If you stop flipping, the income stops, right? But that's why we take the money and move it over there. So we have built up a second leg to stand on, and the third and the fourth and the fifth leg to stand on. But the cash still comes from over here. So now, to answer your question, though, where do people get the money to flip the land? Well, first of all, you don't really need a whole lot for the deals, because most of our deals if you purchase them between $1,000 and like $20,000. So it's not like you need to get $1 million loan. But most importantly, probably 95% of our students, they actually use techniques that are called wholesaling. So they use the traditional classic wholesaling techniques, which is, number one, they take a property and they put it under contract, and then they go and find a buyer. They find a buyer, and then once the buyer is put together, they use what we call double closing. So once they have the buyer lined up, they actually give both. They have a contract with the seller, they have a contract with the buyer. They put both contracts into escrow, and then they use the buyer's money to pay everyone involved. So in other words, through a double closing, assignments, transactional funding, short-term loans, and things like that, you can do deals.
You don't even need money. You just need maybe an earnest money to get it under contract, and then the assignment and everything.
Don't put out any earnest money, because again, we have a very short contract that actually doesn't even have a provision for earnest money. Like in the 4,000 deals that we have done, I think we have once put down earnest money because the seller really insisted on it, and then we made it $100.
Unbelievable. So, Jack, I'll just ask what everybody who's listening right now wants to know. How can we learn how to do this? How can we get in your programs, Jack?
So there's 2 ways really that you can learn about it. First of all, there's a website that you can go on and watch some videos and so on. And in order to go there, you can go to Land Profit Fun. Fun, like having fun, F-U-N. If you go to Land Profit Fun, you go over there and you can watch some videos. Another thing is, like, every once in a while, we're doing what's called what we're calling a 5 to 7 day free master class. It's 100% free. And over a course of 5 to 7 days, we walk you through all the different steps, give you action steps, tell you where you find these people, how to select a good area for it, how to get the list that we send out, how to send out these letters, how to value the properties, how to make offers, how to create listings. We literally walk you through the entire process for that. And you can register for that under landprofitmaster.com, landprofitmaster.com. We have one starting pretty much right away, probably by the time this is broadcast that we're right in the middle of one, but go there, because even if you get into the tail end, you will or if you miss it, we'll let you know when the next one is. So either landprofitfun, like having fun.com, landprofitfun.com, or landprofitmaster.com. Both places get you to us, where you can find out a ton more.
Unbelievable. Let me just say that for everyone. That's landprofitfun.com, F-U-N, right?
Right.
Yep. And then what was the other one? It was landprofitmaster.com, right? Got it. All right. And then it looks like there's some free workshops there for you guys to check out. And then you become a master at land flipping. And Jack, even in the last couple of years, as real estate has really started to heat up, you still see a big gap. There's not a lot of competition here. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's almost no competition in most markets of the United States, and the profits have just exploded. As a matter of fact, we have had some of the best years in the last 2-3 years. Our students had. I mean, like we have a couple of students right now. This is not the norm. I don't want to claim this is the norm, but we had a couple of students right now that are literally on track to make $1 million in profit in their first year doing this, following our steps. Now we have dozens and hundreds that are making in the 6 figures a year, and still it is. I mean, comparable, like the market I live in, Phoenix, Arizona. There's probably 3,000 to 5,000 full-time house flippers. There's probably 20 full-time land flippers over here. That's the ratio of competition that you see here. It's almost like for every 200 house flippers, there might be one land flipper, if that. And that's not going to change anytime soon. Right? It's not going to change anytime soon. And again, the market is on fire. Builders are looking for land. People want to have land too. There's a new habit in the world of COVID that people don't want to travel internationally that much. So they want to have their own 10 acres outside of town that they can bring their RVs on. They can have fun. Like people want to move due to COVID. It allows people to live outside of town or in the outskirts, perhaps. And the 3 pieces of land that we focus on is, number 1, infill lots, which are on fire. Builders want them. Number 2 is the properties in the path of growth where the city grows, which is great right now because people can live there. And as long as there's internet access, they can work anywhere now because the remote learning has become the new norm, right? And then number 3, if somebody many people want their own mini ranch, want their own recreational space, 10 acres, 20 acres, right? Where they can go and horse around and put the cabin up there and so on. And these properties are the ones we're focusing on. They have these 3, they have huge amounts of builders, of buyers built in. And COVID has only accelerated that market for us and accelerated demand and prices and profits. And it's really off the chains, the market right now.
Wow. Unbelievable, guys. So landprofitmaster.com, landprofitfun.com. And so how does it work? There's some education programs. Is there any mentoring? Are there any live classes? How can everybody, go through your programs?
Yeah, so we have mentoring, we have coaching, we have a couple of options there. We have a software, we have a home study course, we have different levels of program. Obviously, those who are most successful with us are the ones that take our 1-year coaching program, because it's not a 6-week coaching program. We are committed. We're obsessed as a company over the success of our students. So that's why we designed a 12-month coaching program that has a 6-week quick start intensive where you get taught all the pieces you need to know over the first 6 weeks. And then you have an accountability coach that is with you, accountability partner that is with you for the entire year. You have one-on-one coaching sessions with master coaches that do anywhere between 30 and 150 deals a year. We have daily group coaching sessions that are happening, also hosted by our master coaches, sometimes hosted by me, literally daily group coaching session, not just one a week. We have archives, we have guides, we have interventions, we go all crazy on our students in order to make sure we really looked at the path our students are doing. We looked at other programs. We have gone through programs, right? We are a big avid consumer of coaching ourselves. Like, we're in multiple coaching programs right now. And when we looked at the coaching programs that were crappy and the coaching programs that were good, we still looked at them and it's just like, where could somebody possibly fail? And we've taken our coaching program and we really made sure that at every possible step where somebody could fail, we have something that makes sure that that person takes the next step and goes to the next area and goes to the next thing, which is obviously very labor intensive on our end, but it's the right thing to do. Because coaching is not just taking somebody's money and then giving them a call once a week, like most coaching programs are. Coaching program is a responsibility on our end to make sure that we deliver for our students. Obviously, the student has to do the work, but we need to be there when the student has a question, when the student runs into a hurdle, when the student has a motivational dip. We need to be there to take them over that hurdle and get them to the next spot. And that's what we have designed. And that's why we have such a by far industry leading success rate in our program. And that's why we get so raving reviews. And we have just, our students are just crushing it out there.
Amen. Well, guys, check it out. It's landprofitmaster.com and landprofitfund.com. And it sounds like Jack and Michelle have built out a solution for everybody based on where you're at and the level. But the thing I like about the program that Jack's explaining here is your risk is lower. It's much less capital intensive, and there's less pain. Because let's be honest, a lot of us listening here, we've owned multifamilies. We've had to rent those out. I'm looking at my partner here right across the room. His hands are all beat up from fixing some sprinklers and stuff with his rental property. And he's sitting down. He's like, oh, there's got to be a better way, right? And
right.
This is the better way.
Right. Yeah, I haven't touched. Let's put it that way. In order to get somebody, when we moved into a new house a couple of years ago, brought our pictures and paintings with us, we had to hire somebody to put them up, because if I put them up, at the end of the day, there's 18 holes and the painting hangs like this, right? I'm just not made for that, right? My hands are soft. I don't ever hold a hammer or something like that. But I can do real estate because I can flip land from the comfort of my home by sitting on a computer, basically.
Unbelievable. Well, awesome stuff, Jack. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. I know I learned a lot, and I'm guessing our listeners have learned a substantial amount too. Jack BOSCH, an amazing story of entrepreneurship. And I just want to know that if we all kind of had that immigrant mentality when you come to the U.S. and you realize the opportunity that is here in this country, we all could be, taking advantage of our opportunities the way Jack and Michelle have, both immigrants, both entrepreneurs, and they also both broke out of the rat race. So a lot that you can learn from this episode. But the most important thing is you guys take action. So take action, move forward, and learn and follow a mentor like Jack.
Are you looking for more seven-figure secrets, content, or even how you can launch your own recession-proof business? Then check out sevenfigures.com. That's the digit 7, FIGURES.com, where we share more videos, stories, strategies, funding solutions, entrepreneurial education, and even the secret business type that's recession-proof. Thank you for listening, and if you're finding value in our podcast, please give us a 5-star and invite others to join the club.